Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today. Why does it seem like all we're getting is reboots, new seasons of classic shows, and more? Where's the originality in television shows? We're going to break this down and tell you why that's happening. Also, the FTC wants to hear your thoughts on the proposal to swap out ATSC 1.0 with 3.0 to force you to upgrade your TV or upgrade with an external tuner in order to continue to get free over-the-air television. And also, did Major League Soccer make a big mistake going with Apple TV on its pure streaming deal? One owner seems to think so. These stories and a whole lot more coming up in a quick second. First, though, you can find a link to every story I'm about to talk about in the show notes and in the first pinned comment, so you can read them for yourself. I would love to hear from you. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button or hitting that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so YouTube will recommend our videos to more people. Hopefully we can help you break free from the high cost of cable TV with videos posted every day, just like this one. All right, let's dive into it. So you may have noticed there's a lot of reboots coming. King of the Hill's got a new season coming soon. We're seeing things like Futurama come back. Heck, not even just shows returning, but new seasons of Family Guy, American Dad, and The Simpsons for some very long, crazy, unprecedented runs. And other reboots are also in the works. So what's happening here? It really comes down to cost. I get this a lot. I see those comments. I see your posts on social media on our site. Why is it we're just getting reboots, remakes of movies and the like? Where's the originality? Well, it seems to be, according to television executives, so we've talked to, the cost of this is the big problem. You go back a little over a decade ago when Game of Thrones first came out, it averaged $6 million per episode, and that was a lot back then. That was a very expensive budget for a television show. Well, fast forward to 2022 when the new prequel, House of Dragons, came out in 2022, and it was paying $20 million per episode. About 3 million more, or 3 times, I should say, 3 times what the first season of the original show did for Game of Thrones. That's not alone, though. Movies are also seeing costs skyrocket. A few big costs here executives are complaining about. Number one is the cost of materials. If you've been to the grocery store, a gas station, or a lumber yard, you probably have seen wood, gas, food, all kinds of stuff that goes into making movies and television shows has skyrocketed. But so has the cost of the crews and actors. Salaries are skyrocketing, with some actors making $600,000 or hundreds of thousands of dollars a episode, and others making hundreds of thousands, if not millions, a movie for a big name star. This all goes into a big pile that drives up the cost of this. You've probably seen a lot about Snow White. Probably not going to make its money back. It's just not. There's a lot of reasons behind that, but the truth is, it was a big risk with hundreds of millions of dollars put into the production, marketing, distribution of the movie to fail and probably leave Disney in the hole by at least $100 million, if not more. Because of that, a lot of executives have been very careful recently not to risk big on too many new unknown shows. You can drop 100, 200, 300 million into a show and not even have it finish its first season. A surprising number of new shows fail, and many nowadays don't even finish their first season. Streaming's changed that dynamic a little bit, because usually they still dump them on streaming, even if they didn't air, or wouldn't have aired on a traditional network all the way through, I should say. But that's a lot of money. Back when, let's be honest, most shows were $1 million, $2 million an episode, a lot of money. But now that they're $20 million an episode for a big blockbuster show, or even $10 million an episode, the risk has become so high that a lot of executives have decided to just play it safe with reboots, remakes, and continuing popular shows, even if they're not drawing in the numbers they once did. The other problem here is that streaming services either are not profitable or only just recently became profitable but aren't that profitable. Disney Plus and some others recently became profitable, but Paramount Plus, Peacock, and others are not. So we'll keep a close eye on this, but if you've been wondering why everything seems like they're reboots or remakes, that's the reason. All right, let's keep moving along. The National Association of Broadcasters, which represents local ABC, NBC, Fox, and CBS station owners, is asking the FCC to make a bunch of changes, including setting some firm dates for when ATSC 1.0 will shut down and start forcing TV manufacturers to include 3.0 tuners into their TVs now. With this, the FCC is asking the public what they think about these terms. If you are upset about ATSC 3.0, what's happening with it, and a lot of people are about the DRM and other issues, I see your comments. This is your opportunity to let the FCC know. If you want, in our story, again, first pinned comment in the show notes, you can find a form in there to go to the FCC and submit your comments. I would strongly encourage you to keep them polite. I'll tell you this, I've talked to enough people that receive these and they all say the same thing. If you're just rude, nasty, and it doesn't really make any sense what you wrote, they're just going to throw your comment away. Now, I mean, they'll read it, but they're not going to pay much attention to it. Take your time, write something out, be polite. Remember, the FCC hasn't made any ruling, so be polite to the FCC. You're not emailing ABC. You're not emailing your local television station. You're emailing the FCC. Be polite. Let them know what you think. That will give you the best results, but let your voice be heard. Don't just be unhappy. Here's your opportunity to let it be heard. All right, Major League Soccer in the United States was one of the groundbreakers on streaming. They struck a 10-year, $2.5 billion deal with Apple to move a majority of their sporting events to Apple TV+. Now with this though, one Major League Soccer executive has reportedly pushed to ditch the Apple TV deal, saying they may have been premature. Two big things that were brought up here. One, how much money they're really getting from Apple. Is it worth it? Two, discoverability. You know, things like Apple TV streaming service is great for your hardcore fans, but how do you discover and grow and develop new fans? That's a big question here. And that's why this executive is pushing for get back on ESPN and broadcast TV and more. Now, some are, but the majority of the events are locked behind a paywall on Apple TV. This is the reason why many sports have been very cautious about this. For one, the TV deals are still very profitable, mostly because a lot of them were created many years ago when the TV landscape was very different, but they're locked into these grandfathered old deals. The other part of this is the fact that it's the question, if we move everything behind something like Apple TV Plus, which has a relatively low subscriber rate, and it's an additional fee on top of that, we may capture our hardcore fans, but how do we get the casual fans? How do we get the potential new fans that we want to grow to keep our sport alive in 40 years, 50 years, and to grow it today? Look for this to become a big story in the future. How does this play out? What does this look like? We'll keep a close eye on it and see what happens. All right, next up, 130 years ago this week, television as we know it became a reality. Thomas Edison unveiled the first public showing of the kinetoscope. Now, interestingly, it was, the early days allowed people to actually see moving images on a screen. And apparently it netted him $120 in its first week back in 1894. That would be equivalent to about $4,000 today. By year's end, the kinetoscopes were all over the world, from London to Tokyo, sparking a global craze for movies. Very interesting to see how all this worked. Back then you could get one of these for $24,000, which is equivalent to $800,000 today. Kind of amazing how money has changed since then. But today in TV history, 130 years ago this week, what led to the creation of television and movies as we know it today was born. And interestingly, the Library of Congress, if you search it, actually has some of the very first original kinetoscopes preserved online if you want to check them out. All right, next up, anybody here a fan of the Savannah Bananas banana ball style baseball? Now think Globetrotters for what they did for basketball. this group is doing for baseball along with the party animals. Well, they've struck a deal with ESPN to bring all summer long live coverage of their events to Disney Plus and ESPN Plus, along with a few on ESPN. It's quite a fun little thing. Again, keep in mind this is like Globetrotters, but for baseball. So it's just kind of a fun, wild, crazy little thing that they do. I know quite a few people have gone and seen it, and they're absolutely huge fans of it. And I'll tell you this, Major League Baseball wishes they were packing stadiums like this group is with it. So check that out. Link in the show notes if you want to learn more about it. And lastly, not directly cord cutting, but sometimes there's just some stories I find so interesting I want to bring here. This is one of those as we finish up here. Facebook will start using your public posts and comments in the EU, and I think they already do this in other parts of the world, to train its new AI. Now with this, if you post publicly, so instead of setting your post to private for friends only, for example, if you make it public, or you comment on a public page and leave a comment, AI will now be used to training on that information to help Facebook improve its AI. Relatively interesting. I think, we long talked about privacy. You just have to assume at some point your information is going to leak, and you probably should have credit monitoring, for example. You probably should assume now if you're posting online that AI is now being used, that's being used to train on it if you're publicly posting it. What do you think of that? I'll be honest, I've been very interested in AI when I'm researching articles. It's very nice to say things like, hey, show me a graph of the last 10 years for the viewership on ABC. And you get this really nice graph. What I really like about it is honestly Google search. Anybody notice Google search seems to be really bad lately? I've almost been having better luck using AIs and asking it to show its sources and then clicking those links to go find the data I need. I have been very impressed with AI, but it's got to be trained somehow, and that's where this comes in. And then there's the whole question when you come into like AI generated art. Where's the line on that? Versus like me just saying, hey, show me a graph of the last 10 years of viewership data for NBC during prime time and get all kinds of great information from it. Leave me a comment, let me know, what do you think of AI? Does it scare you? I know it's not necessarily cord cutting related, but it's a story and something I'm fascinated by, wanted to bring here. We won't do this often, but sometimes when something's so big, and I have something I want to say about it, I'll throw it in at times at the end here. Well, that's it for today. I hope you have a fantastic day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up. Doing one or both lets YouTube know you enjoy what we do here, so they recommend our videos to more people. Until next time, take care, be safe. I'll be back again real soon.